The sound of tires squealing and morning traffic filled the lot as I rolled my mop bucket across the polished tile floor of the Royal Crest Auto Center. The smell of new leather mixed with stale coffee. Another Tuesday. I wasn't wearing a name tag. No one had ever bothered to give me one. "Hey. You missed a spot." I glanced up. Christine, the floor manager, stood a few feet away in her black blazer and sky-high heels, pointing at an imaginary smudge on the floor. "I'll get it," I said calmly, dipping the mop again. She narrowed her eyes. "You're new, right?" "No, ma'am." "Huh," she scoffed. "Well, act like you want to keep this job." A few salesmen looked over from their desks but quickly turned back to their screens, pretending they didn't hear. I didn't say anything. I'd dealt with worse. Christine leaned in, lowering her voice. "Don't just stand there with that bucket like you own the place." I met her stare. "Wasn't standing." She rolled her eyes. "You people think silence is an excuse for laziness. Move." I quietly stepped aside. No reaction. Just like always. If only she knew. Because by the end of the day, Christine wouldn't just regret her tone, she'd find out exactly who'd been signing her paycheck all this time. And she wouldn't like the answer. By noon, the dealership was buzzing. Salesmen in tight dress shirts paced between showroom models, escorting customers and sealing deals. Christine's heels clicked like a metronome across the tile. She barked orders, corrected paperwork, and made sure everyone remembered who was in charge. Everyone except me. I stuck to my corner with my mop and my bucket, quietly watching. The laminated floors were spotless, but I kept cleaning. Let them think I was just background. From the glass office upstairs, I caught a glance of Mark, the general manager. He nodded at me, barely noticeable, just once. That was all I needed. No one here knew, but Mark had been in on it from the start. 6 months ago, I bought a silent stake in Royal Crest Auto Center. 51%. I didn't want attention. I wanted to observe. I wanted to know who really ran this place, and how they treated the ones they thought were beneath them. Christine made herself loud and clear. "She doesn't know who you are." Mark had asked on the first day I showed up in the janitor uniform. "Not yet," I replied. "Let's see what happens when she thinks I'm nobody." That afternoon, I overheard her talking to 2 sales reps near the break room. "He's always just lurking around," Christine said, voice low but sharp. "The janitor. Gives me the creeps." "He seems fine to me," one of the reps replied. "He's slow. Doesn't speak much. And the way he stares, like he's judging everyone." I smiled faintly, still mopping. She wasn't entirely wrong. Around 3 p.m., chaos hit. One of the junior sales guys, Danny, sprinted out of the back office holding a clipboard like it was on fire. "Christine. We've got a VIN discrepancy on the Platinum Series Escalade. Customers waiting." I watched from the side hallway as Christine snatched the clipboard from his hand. "You're kidding. We logged this last week. It's showing as sold already." Christine muttered something under her breath and stormed toward the service bay, heels echoing with every step. I followed at a distance, staying behind the row of display SUVs. Minutes later, I heard her voice rising. "I told you people to stop touching the inventory system unless I give permission." The service tech, a quiet older guy named Tom, stood frozen by a computer monitor. "Ma'am, I didn't do anything. I just opened the file." Christine was livid. "If I find out the janitor's been snooping again, God help him." I stopped just outside the office. "You think just because you wear coveralls, you get to drift around this place like you're above checking in with me?" I stepped in. Christine spun toward me. "What? What is it now?" I nodded to the screen. "Your VIN input, someone used an old template." The vehicle ID is cloned from a unit sold 3 months ago. That's why it's bouncing back. She blinked. What? She snapped. I calmly tapped the keyboard, pulled up the archive files, and showed her. She stared. How do you even know how to use this system? I've worked in a few dealerships, I said. She stepped back slowly, clearly rattled. But the arrogance crept right back in. Don't touch anything again. You're here to mop, not manage inventory. I looked her in the eye. Sure. I turned and walked away, my hands still in rubber gloves, mop dragging lightly behind me. She had no idea she just got saved by the man she was trying to humiliate. But soon, she'd find out. By the time the sun dipped behind the rooftops, the showroom had thinned out. The last few customers were sipping vending machine coffee, waiting on final paperwork. I was cleaning the glass doors at the entrance when Christine's voice cut through the stillness. Mark. Line 2, it's regional. From my reflection in the glass, I saw Mark stiffen at his desk upstairs. He picked up the call. I couldn't hear much, but I didn't need to. That call had been scheduled. 5 minutes later, Mark descended the stairs fast, straightening his blazer. He motioned for Christine to meet him by the front desk. She walked over, clearly confused. What's going on? She asked. We've got a visit, he said, voice tight. Tomorrow. First thing in the morning. From who? Mark hesitated. Let's just say it's someone who's been paying very close attention to how this place runs. Christine frowned. I've kept this floor spotless. Our numbers are good. Why the surprise visit? Mark gave a half smile. Might not be about numbers. I continued quietly wiping down the doors. Christine glanced sideways at me, then leaned closer to Mark. Don't tell me this has something to do with the janitor. Mark's smile didn't change. You'll find out soon. She looked from Mark to me and scoffed. I didn't look back. I just moved to the next door panel. Because by morning, this place wouldn't feel like hers anymore. The next day, I arrived earlier than usual. No mop. No gloves. Just a charcoal suit, crisp white shirt, and a blue tie that matched the Royal Crest logo almost perfectly. The showroom lights buzzed to life one by one. Sales reps trickled in with coffee cups and surprised glances. A few gave polite nods, clearly not recognizing me without the uniform. Christine walked in 20 minutes late, same sharp heels, same sharp attitude. She nearly dropped her tablet when she saw me standing near the reception desk, casually reviewing a printout. At first, she blinked like she wasn't sure. Then her eyes narrowed. Can I help you? She asked, voice curt. I smiled slightly. Yes. You can gather your floor staff. We'll be starting in 15 minutes. Christine tilted her head. Excuse me. Mark approached just in time, holding a folder and looking far too amused. This is Mr. Ellison, Mark said. He's the majority owner of Royal Crest Auto Center. Silent partner until today. Christine's jaw didn't drop, but her eyes did widen, just for a second. Then came the denial. No. No, I've never seen, he was the janitor. Mark raised a brow. And? She looked at me, face flushing. You let me, I observed, I said evenly. I wanted to know how this place truly operated. Not from reports. From real interaction. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. I handed her the printout. Starting next week, I'll be introducing some changes. New standards. A fresh review of staff conduct. Some roles will be re-evaluated. Christine's hands trembled as she took the paper. This is a joke, she muttered. I looked her in the eye. Calm. Direct. I'm not joking. For once, she said nothing. The mop she used to look down on. Gone. The man she tried to humiliate. Now her boss. Christine didn't leave the floor for the rest of the morning. She tried to act composed, snapping quick orders, correcting paperwork, walking with that same forced confidence. But her tone was off. Her voice cracked once. She dropped her tablet. The cracks were showing. Word spread fast. One of the newer salesmen whispered near the water cooler, "You serious? He's the owner?" "Yeah," another replied. "Bought in months ago. Just didn't want anyone to know." Christine's toast. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. At 11:30, I held a team meeting in the conference room. Christine sat in the back, arms folded, lips tight. The others, sales, service, and admin, looked between her and me like they were watching a script flip in real time. "First," I began, "let me say I've seen a lot these past few months. Good effort from most of you. Real hard work." A few employees nodded. Mark leaned against the wall, silent and watching. "But I've also seen the kind of behavior that pushes good people out the door. That ends today." Christine shifted in her seat. "We'll be installing a new ethics and conduct program. Promotions will no longer be based on volume alone, but on leadership. Respect. How you treat every person in this building, no matter their title." I let the words hang there. "That includes janitors." Christine didn't look up. After the meeting, I stepped out to the service bay. Tom, the quiet technician Christine had snapped at before, stood by a lifted truck. He looked at me, then smiled. "Didn't think I'd see the day." I nodded. Neither did she. He chuckled. "You gonna keep the suit?" "Maybe," I said. "But I'll still mop the floor sometimes. Because power doesn't come from showing off. It comes from showing up." That afternoon, I stayed late. Mark and I met in the upstairs office to go over restructuring plans, new hiring standards, employee feedback systems, and rotating mentorship shifts between departments. We were rebuilding the culture from the ground up. At 5:17 p.m., a soft knock hit the glass door. Christine stepped in without waiting. She looked different. Quieter. Her blazer was still pressed, her makeup perfect, but the arrogance she wore like armor had cracked. Now she looked like someone who realized the mask didn't fit anymore. "Got a minute?" she asked. I motioned to the chair across from me. She sat, posture still proud but less rigid. "I just wanted to say," she began, then paused. "I didn't know who you were." "I know. And I didn't mean to be," she stopped again, struggling with the word. "Disrespectful?" I offered. She flinched. Then nodded. "I thought you were just a janitor," she admitted. I leaned forward slightly. "And if I were? Would your behavior have been okay then?" That one landed. She exhaled. "No. It wouldn't." Silence passed between us. "I've built a lot here," she said. "Maybe not all of it right, but I care about this dealership." I studied her expression, no smugness, no excuses. Just discomfort and something close to truth. "I'm not firing you, Christine," I said. "But I'm not protecting titles anymore either. You want to stay. You'll need to earn it, same as everyone else. That starts tomorrow." She nodded slowly. "Understood." Then, almost quietly, "Thank you for giving me the chance." I nodded. "We'll see what you do with it." She stood, paused by the door, then left without another word. As the door clicked shut, Mark looked over. "You think she'll change?" he asked. I watched her walk across the showroom floor, no longer the loudest voice in the room. "She'll try," I said. "Or she'll leave." And either way, the dealership was finally becoming what it should have been all along. The next few weeks told me everything I needed to know. Christine showed up early. Stayed late. No outbursts. No barking orders. She started shadowing the service team during slow hours, asking questions instead of giving commands. Was it genuine? Maybe. Or maybe it was survival. But either way, it was a start. One afternoon, I saw her walking with Tom, the quiet service tech. They weren't arguing. They were laughing. That alone felt like progress. As for me, I kept my presence steady but subtle. I didn't park in the owner's spot. I didn't hold court in the upstairs office. I still walked the floor most mornings, talked to customers, asked how employees were doing, sometimes with a clipboard in hand, sometimes just with a coffee. But no mop. Not anymore. Word about the owner in coveralls traveled beyond our lot. A regional rep dropped by to shake my hand. A few other dealerships started calling, curious about the culture shift they heard we'd pulled off. One Friday, as we wrapped a record month in sales, Christine approached me near the reception desk. "Floors never looked better," she said, nodding at the gleaming tile. I gave her a half smile. "You didn't mop it." She smirked faintly. "But I could." That moment, small as it was, meant more than any numbers on a spreadsheet. Because now, they weren't just watching their boss. They were learning from the janitor who'd seen it all. 3 months after I first walked through the Royal Crest doors in a janitor's jacket, I stood in front of the team once again, this time under the bright lobby lights, during an official company-wide meeting. No mop. No gloves. Just me. Mark stepped forward first. "Before we wrap, our owner has something to say." I glanced around the room. Every face, sales, techs, reception, accounting, watched me. Even Christine, now standing off to the side, arms crossed but relaxed. Listening. "I started here pretending to be someone I'm not," I began. "Because I wanted to know how this place really ran. Without filters. Without handshakes or smiles just because of a title." The room was silent. What I saw was good people doing honest work. But I also saw habits, bad ones. Pride without reason. Respect given only when someone looked the part. I let that settle for a moment. "But that's changed. You've changed it. We don't just sell cars here. We build trust. And that starts with how we treat the quietest person in the room." A few people nodded. One of the newer sales reps even clapped quietly. "Titles can change," I continued. "Uniforms too. But character? That's the real badge." The room clapped now. Genuinely. Not because I was the boss, but because they understood the message. As the team dispersed, one of the young receptionists walked over and asked, "Mr. Ellison, do you mind if I ask, why a janitor?" I smiled. Because no one sees him coming. And sometimes, that's the only way to reveal the truth. A week after that meeting, the old Royal Crest Auto Center sign was replaced. The new one was simple. Clean. White letters on black glass, Ellison Crest Auto Group. No fanfare. No ceremony. Just a quiet rebranding, one that meant something deeper than ownership. It was about transformation. I still kept the janitor's jacket folded in my office drawer. Not as a costume, but as a reminder. Of what I'd seen. Of what they didn't. Christine stayed on. Not because she had to, but because she chose to evolve. She took the feedback. Owned her faults. And one day, I found her showing a trainee how to prep the customer lounge, hands deep in a box of cleaning wipes. She caught me watching and grinned. "Don't say it," she said. I wasn't going to. "You were." "Maybe," I chuckled. Even Tom, the quiet technician, had opened up. He now helped lead monthly workshops on diagnostics. Turns out, people had been overlooking his brilliance for years. The irony? It took a janitor to notice. And the staff? They didn't just work harder, they worked better. More respectful. More connected. Like they knew now that anyone could be watching. And that the guy polishing the glass might just own the building. Sometimes I'd walk the floor in silence. Just like before. Listening. Observing. Not to catch anyone slipping, but to remember how far we'd come. Because leadership doesn't shout. It listens. Learns. Then leads. And in the quiet spaces between titles and uniforms, you find the truth about people. That's where I found mine.